Well, everybody, one of the groups of people that we really work hard to minister to here at CPYU, to encourage, to equip, to resource them, it's youth workers. And what we really love at CPYU is when we are able to engage with youth workers who are deeply thoughtful, highly committed to Christ, obviously, and to knowing the scriptures, to teaching the scriptures, and to working with parents as well. And one of those guys who we have really come to love and respect over the years is Kyle Hoffsmith. And Kyle's here. Welcome, Kyle.
Hey, Walt. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, tell everybody where you're from and where you are right now and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I grew up not too far from where CPYU is headquarters. I went to Lower Dolphin High School in Hummelstown, Pennsylvania, and first served as a youth pastor for several years in Palmyra in Lebanon County, and then have been out here in Ohio, outside of Youngstown, Ohio, for about the past 4 years, serving as a pastor of student ministry.
Right, and you're in the town actually is Canfield, right?
Yep, Canfield, Ohio.
Old North Church. And
Yes.
one of the great connects that I made was a couple of years ago when I was up at Gordon Conwell. I asked my buddy who's a preaching professor up there, Scott Gibson, Scott, who do you like to listen to when they preach? He goes, oh, that's easy. Nick Gatsey, who's at Old North Church in Canfield. And so I go to check that out, and then I discover, oh my word, that's where Kyle is. So it's been fun to connect with you guys. And you've actually been connected with CPYU for a while. Tell us a little bit about how you first heard about us and the connect over the years.
Yeah, for sure. So I believe the first interaction I had with CPYU was actually probably when I was a high schooler, hearing the CPYU radio minute on WJTL, driving around in the car with my parents. Whenever yesterday I was listening to the latest podcast, and when I heard Lisa's introduction to the podcast, it like brings this memory of what I probably heard many times in the car 15 years ago or so. And then my first interaction as a youth worker with CPYU was I was part of the Lebanon County Youth Pastor Network. And in my first couple of years of being a youth pastor, we hosted a CPYU seminar at the Lebanon area Evangelical Free Church. And so we had a Walt and one other presenter come out.
Yeah, we've had Mark and Jason up there as well.
Yeah, so that was my first interaction as a youth pastor, and having some parents come to that seminar and learn from CPYU.
Now, I want to ask you this about the radio spot, which we call Youth Culture Today. It's been going since 2004, which is amazing when I think about it. Now it's a podcast. Would your parents put you in the car for whenever that would come on and drive you around just so you would hear that?
They just had this prediction that in the future I'd be friends with you, Walt, so they figured I might as well get familiar with your voice then.
Yeah. We often will run into kids who have grown up, like their parents had them listen to one of those radio spots. And I one time got introduced to a young man as this is the father looked at him and said, "This is a guy you hate, because this is why you don't have a smartphone. It's this guy right here." And that radio.
That's awesome.
So, hey, Kyle, talk a little bit about your role now and how you're using CPYU. I want our partners to hear a little bit about how what they're investing in CPYU is paying dividends, specifically in your ministry there in Canfield.
Yeah, so as youth ministry progresses, one of the key things that youth pastors should be doing, and that I found is one of the most valuable resources that I can use my time for, is investing in parents and partnering with them and discipling their own kids. Because as many events or programs that students will come to, the parents are the ones who spend the most time with their children. And so we had CPYU out to our church at Old North Church 2 years in a row to host seminars for parents. The first year was about social media and parents, and the second year was about just raising students in our ad-saturated world. And I'll tell you, Walt, having 2 seminars in a row, I believe they were both in February, 2 years in a row. I was recently in a counseling session with a pair of parents and one of our other pastors, and it was amazing. In the middle of talking about how they were managing their kids' use of a phone, they referenced back to this first seminar that we had CPYU out, and that was a year and a half previous. And it was a good reminder to me just the value of not only equipping parents, but hosting seminars like this where parents can learn and not knowing when they're going to be implementing that. But to hear this in a counseling session a year and a half later, that they're referencing something they learned at the seminar where you came and presented, was so encouraging to me.
Yeah, that's great. And these are the kinds of stories that, this is one of the frustrating things about what we do here. We're either here putting all kinds of information up out there technologically on the internet or blowing podcasts out there, or we're on the road and it's me and Lisa, we're out there, one of our associate staff, and others don't get to travel with us and hear and see what's actually happening in people's lives. So when I hear things like this, it's very encouraging to me, and I know it'll be very encouraging to our ministry partners as well. So just real quick, you texted me this week and let me know about the way you're using the new family table talk devotions that we've put together for this stay-at-home time. Would you just mention that, because I found that encouraging as well?
Yeah, so one thing that I found during this whole stay-at-home time of COVID-19 is just sending direct emails to parents rather than mass emails. When I send direct emails, I seem to get more response rate. So I've been letting parents know about this new table talk resource that CPYU is putting out, and then even sharing Facebook posts just to let people know. And it was so encouraging last night. Yesterday's table talk that got posted was from our friend Kevin out in
Right.
California. And I sent him a message last night because one of my parents of my students posted on Facebook that they were going to use this resource again last night. And it's so fun to think how a youth ministry, CPYU, in Pennsylvania, is posting an article written by a youth worker in California, and it's being read and talked about by a family in a church in Ohio. So it's so cool to see how CPYU is not only resourcing local churches, but is bringing local churches together, especially in a unique time like this.
Yeah, yeah. Any last minute comments you want to make before we close out here? I really appreciate you sharing this. I know there's a lot more you and I have talked about that's been really encouraging to me, and it's been fun to watch you, Kyle, because how old are you now?
I am 29.
Yeah, that's right. I thought you weren't 30 yet, and it just boggles my mind that I was once 29. Uh, I don't think I was as sharp as you are, but in fact, I know I wasn't. But this is what brings me joy to know that you're a young youth worker and relatively young, and that you're launched on this path as you move forward. So I hope we're able to continue to help you. Any last final comments?
Yeah, I would just say to anyone watching this video that in the youth ministry world right now, we're just at a drought from the youth ministry landscape of having biblically rich, but also culturally relevant resources. And that's where I found CPYU to be on the front end of not trying to invent anything new, not trying to make resources that are meant just to be flashy to get more people involved, but just to communicate the biblical truth and just ancient people, both those who alive theologians who are dead, and just communicate the ancient truth of Christianity to a new generation. So I'm really excited about CPYU and excited to see how God will continue to use it, not only with families, but also just in the youth ministry world, because every youth pastor who can be influenced to use the Bible more, which is what CPYU is aiming to do, is a win, not only for us, but just for the churches where those youth pastors serve. So I'm really excited.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Kyle. And just so you know, I know when you use the word ancient, you're referring to me. Someday you'll be there. So, hey, thanks so much. I love having you on here, and I'm sure our partners are going to be thrilled to hear what you have to say. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, Walt.